Hello guys, this is the-epiphany. In today's video I'll be trying to AP Exo a Mantax and then dropping it for sync to make the stats perfect. During the video I'll also be explaining some changes to the OSA class that happened yesterday in the maintenance, and because of these changes I believe that the class is no longer playable, so it is highly likely I will be class changing. So firstly, all I'm going to do is add the AP rune on and then use the orb to reset the stats. While I do this, I'll be explaining why I think the OSA class is no longer playable. Well, firstly, there are a couple of changes to the OSA class which absolutely destroyed the class, and more importantly destroyed my style of gameplay. Specifically speaking, the biggest one is when you re-summon a summon, they will actually lose 100 MP and therefore cannot move during their turn, just like the Eneripsis Coney, if you guys remember that. And even though, since I am an intelligence OSA, you might think that the update is not that bad because wormlings can, still hit from range. So there's really no need to re-summon them and reposition them. But that's not necessarily the case, because if you notice with the, let's say, the Melanic Wormling, you will have, the diagonal spell that attacks an enemy will heal allies as well. So you pretty much need to be, the Wormling needs to be diagonal in order to use that spell. And depending on the situation, you're going to have to re-summon them in a diagonal position for them to use the spell. But since they are in a diagonal position, they will not be able to use the linear spell, which basically defeats the purpose of, having a Melanic Wormling. The second update to do with the second change to do with the summons is in the Wormlings themselves. The diagonal damage spell for the Melanic Wormling, the range has been reduced. The range used to be diagonals of 7 squares, which is actually 14 range, but now it's a diagonal of 4 squares. So that's for the Melanic Wormling. And if we talk about the Albino Wormling, it is also a bit it's been changed a little bit as well, because the spell that attacks it's a linear spell. It attacks the enemy and heals any allies that are next to the enemy. That spell has been changed so that it does not heal the Albino Wormling, because in the past the Albino Wormling could stand next to the enemy and hit the enemy and the Albino Wormling would be healed, but that's changed. That isn't actually too bad, because the Albino Wormling doesn't really need to heal itself much. Usually when I use the Albino Wormling to hit an enemy, I'm far away anyway. I don't go up to the enemy to hit the enemy using the Albino Wormling. So yeah, the red Wormling is unchanged, so that's fine. But let's move on to the Chestnut Gorbor. As you know, I'm an int OSA, but I use the Chestnut Gorbor for shielding purposes. And the Chestnut Gorbor shielding has been changed. Just the shielding spell. In the past, the spell was 3 range, and you could, use it twice a turn, so probably on 2 allies. But now you can only use it once a turn, and the actual spell, the shielding spell, cannot be used on the first turn of the Gorbor's life. So If you summon a chestnut gorbel, then you have to wait a turn before you can actually shield. Once again, that doesn't really affect me because I actually summon it on turn 1, and that's usually the first turn of the fight. You know, it doesn't need to shield on the first turn. I just summon it so that I can relay it with an ally. Apart from that, apart from the fact that this spell cannot be used on the first turn of its life, it is also problematic because when we, the spell itself is no longer 3 range, but is actually 1 range. So, for the chestnut gorbel to use the shield spell, it has to be right next to the target. And secondly, the target has to be an enemy. It's kind of weird because basically you cast the shield spell on the enemy and it will shield any ally that is next to the enemy, as opposed to before where all you needed to do was cast the spell and it heals, it shields an ally. But now you have to cast it on an enemy and it shields any ally who is next to the enemy. That's the unfortunate thing, because usually, people tend to kill the chestnut gorbel because, it's a bit of a nuisance, the fact that it can shield so much. So in order for it to be effective now, you have to resummon it right next to the enemy, and the chestnut gorbel will shield it'll target the enemy and then shield anyone who is next to the enemy. And the fact that it is right next to the enemy means it has a higher chance of dying, because the enemy that's being surrounded will probably kill the chestnut gorbel. So that defeats the purpose of having a chestnut gorbel. Additionally, the shielding is also different now. As you know, in the past, it shields 520 if you use it on an ally, and it was 725 if you use it on an ally when they are standing next to an enemy. But now the shielding is weird. So basically, like I said before, you will cast it on an ally. No, sorry, you cast it on an enemy, and any ally who is around the enemy will be shielded. Now basically, the more allies you have around the enemy, the less shields each ally will get. So, it's not very good at all. I think it's around, let's say, so obviously it's possible for 4 individual things to be around the enemy, and one of those has to be the chestnut gorbel, because it has to be next to the enemy to use the spell. And the thing about that is that, let's say there was one ally who was next to the enemy, it will be shooting, I think it was 650 or 700 or something. But if there's 2 allies, I believe it is reduced down to around 450 or something, or it might have been 350, I can't remember. And if there are 3 allies around the enemy, each ally will get only, I think, 230 shields, which is nothing, essentially. 230 shield is very, very little. So yeah, that's pretty much why I believe Oses are not very effective anymore. Oh, and the last change is the change with the spiritual leash. The spell costs 5 AP to use now. It used to be 3 AP. They reduced the cooldown to 5 turns, but it used to be 7 turns. And basically, the ally who is revived will die at the end of their 2nd turn. So in the past, you could revive an ally and they would be, alive forever unless the Osa dies, or unless they are unless they are killed. But but nowadays they will die at the end of their 2nd turn, which is pretty unfortunate, because you need to pretty much be very, very you need to be smart and think when is the best time to revive the ally, you know, because they die in 2 turns. So yeah, and on top of that, you know, they lose 50% of their AP and MP and vitality for infinite amount of turns. So pretty much the revive spell is completely stuffed. The fact that you revive someone and they have 6 AP, 3 MP, they cannot do much anyway. And to top it off with the fact that they will, you know, die in 2 turns, is completely destroyed the purpose of the spell. So yeah, those are the main changes for the Osa class. Let me know what you think about that in the description box below. I'm going to continue Exomaging. Oh, sorry. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Alright, so I'm up to 29 AP runes remaining. That means I've used 71. No luck yet. I'm gonna keep going here. Hopefully it lands soon. Otherwise I'm gonna have to get more orbs and more AP runes. Alright, that's unfortunate. You see, the thing about orbing and AP exoing, I'm pretty sure it's it could be more expensive than actually, you know, maging the stats back manually, because an orb costs 142,000. So, and I'm pretty sure that the runes required to bring the stats back up to the normal range is cheaper than 142,000. But obviously I'm lazy, so I'm going with orb and AP exo. Let's go, come on. No luck. The chance of the AP rune landing is it's a 1% because it's an exo. Come on, come on. Yeah, so basically I'm making this Mantax for an agility set because I've never had a Mantax before and I need to make it extremely perfect. Alright, so not looking good. We have less than 10 AP runes. There we go. Finally. Okay, so that took 92 AP runes. Okay, so what we need to do now is actually mage the item and, you know, maintain the stats as close as possible to perfection. And then when the AP drops, that's when we calculate our sync. Okay, so what you want to do is go for the stats that are the worst at the moment. So as you can see, 11 air damage is at the minimal, because with the presence of an AP rune on the item, the chance of stats landing is extremely low compared to if there was no AP rune. So, you know, the chance of something dropping when I add this is actually pretty high, even though it's at 11 out of 15. Let's try. As you can see there, we lost 2 wisdom. Okay, so 2 wisdom is 6 sync, and then air damage is 5 sync, so we have 1 sync remaining. Just going to use the general chat for that. Alright, that didn't land. Okay, 7 vitality. That's a bit more than 3 sync. 1 crit resistance gone is 2 sync. Okay, so that's pretty much a decimal sync, but I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, minus sync here. I'm pretty sure we're down to 0 now. Oh, that's... Okay, lost 2 AP parry, and we dropped it with a 10 agility rune, so that's 4 sync. Okay. Alright, plus air damage, -1 wisdom, so that's 5 sync, that's 3 sync, so we have 2 sync remaining, because we lose 2 sync in total. Come on. Alright, actually I'm just gonna mage randomly. Hopefully this AP drops soon. Oh no. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. Ah, there we go. Alright, we need to backtrack here. Alright, so this particular line here, I'm pretty sure I dropped an AP parry with a water resistance rune. So that's 1 sync. In this particular line here, I dropped 14 vitality and 1 air damage with a water resistance rune. So I'm pretty sure that is okay, so 3 sync from here and then 5 sync from here, so that's 8, and then -2 from this is 6. Sorry, -6 from the for the water resistance is 2, and then from 1 from the previous line is 3, and then this line here, 100 sync, take away 6 is 94. But 94 adding on to the 3 means we have 97 sync. Alright, so we have 97 sync, and whatever we mage, there is a guaranteed chance that nothing will drop, because that's how maging like this works. Alright, so I'm actually pretty nervous because the stats are pretty low and I'm afraid something's gonna go wrong. Alright, a crit. Let's get this to 76. A crit again. Okay. Let's overmage this to 410 and drop it down. Alright, -10 sync, because 50 vitality is 10 sync. Alright, so now going to add a crit res. It probably will not land because it's, you know, it's above 20, and the 20 multiple rule states that above 20 times whatever the rune gives, so above 20 crit resist, the chance of this landing is low, but let's see. Oh yeah, we didn't land. Oh come on, -11. Okay, let's chuck a par air damage, please crit. Oh no, okay, 72. Alright, let's... Alright, now we have 62. Drop it down with this. Crit. Yes, there we go. Okay, AP, oops, AP parry. Minus sync, minus sync, minus sync, minus sync. That's -28. Alright, 62 minus 28 is, what is that? It's 34, I believe. Yeah, it's 34. Okay. Let's get the crit resistance up. Alright, now we have 28. Okay, let's get the air damage. Minus sync, minus sync, minus sync, crit. 28 minus 15 equals 13. Am I on YouTube? Yes, you are. We have 13 sync remaining. And honestly, I'm not happy with this item at all because we're not getting perfect stats. I wanted to get 30 crit resist, and in order to do that, I have to overmage it to 31 and drop it down. But we have 13 sync remaining, so hopefully, you know, this will land here. Alright, that landed. One more, come on. Minus sync. Okay, we have 5 sync remaining because we lost 8 from the 2 dodge. Alright, hope this lands. Okay, it landed. We have 1 sync remaining, and that is not enough for any rune. Okay, so we have 1 sync remaining. That is pretty much the end of this mage. Let's copy that, and I will post that in the Discord. Fucked AP drop. Yep, But as you can see, when you drop AP to get, you know, try and get perfect stats, it's very, very difficult. And this item that I achieved here, I am not entirely happy with it because, you know, we could have had 3 more wisdom and 2 more crit resistance. But I had to, you know, work with what I had. And it's unfortunate that we had a lot of minus sinks here. For example, air damage failed 3 times, and 4 of the AP parries took sink, which is just a bit ridiculous. But yeah, I think this will do the job in the meantime. I think I'm going to add a 2% resistance transcendence rune to it. So let me just check that out now. Because it's an agility item, the best thing to do would be to put an air transcendence rune. Okay, there's none in the market, but if you watched my previous video, you would know that it is possible to buy the astral rune from the market, resource market. Oh, come on. Yeah, from the market, and yep, there it is. And I go combine here, that there. Oh, whoops, meant to put, where is it? Here, yeah, there we go. Alright, now we go Smith Mage. And we add that on. Have signature. And there's the item. So it took me 91 orbs and 92 AP runes. So, you know, that's roughly about 13, 14, I'd say 16 million karmas in the production of this item, or including the 2% air, so that would be 20 million karmas in the production of this item. Very, very expensive, but yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you learned something about the OSA nerf and dropping AP to fix the stats. I'll see you at the next video.